Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And this range report is on a very special gun. You guys may have seen this earlier on the channel, and I've talked about this gun's history. This is a gun that is many years in the making. This is a TPM Outfitters MP5-N clone in RAL 8000. Yes, baby poop brown. And this is one of the guns from my personal collection and obviously one of my MP5 clones. So before I get into the range report, I want to thank the people that always make these possible. First and foremost, my Patreons. As you guys know, my channel has been demonetized in the great YouTube gun channel purge, and the Patreons help keep the lights on around here. Their support goes a long way in helping me continue to make content for you. And I also want to thank my primary sponsor and ammunition supplier for all of these range reports, and that is Brownworks. Brownworks is a small American-owned business in Maryland that makes high-quality wooden grips for all different types of firearms. Mark, who's the owner, is an expert craftsman and can custom make any type of grip to your heart's desire, from specialty logos, from specialty materials, specialty colors, and any type of finish that you need. So go to his website. I'm going to put a link in the description below. There's a discount code down there, an affiliate link, and if there's something on his website that he doesn't have that you would like to see him have, well, give Mark an email. I'm sure that he would be more than happy to work with you on any type of special order. And as I said, he is providing all of the ammunition for these range reports, so he is a huge sponsor here at the Texas Gun Vault. So I implore you, please go check out his website. And if you're in the market for extremely high quality custom grips, please check out Brownworks, see what he has to offer. I know you will not be disappointed if you place an order with him. Every grip he has ever made for me has been to the highest fit, finish, and function. I cannot speak higher of his craftsmanship. All right, so with that said, let's talk about the MP5 that is in front of you. Now, as I said, this is a gun that is many, many years in the making. If you go back on my channel, about a few months, you'll actually see me talk about when I brought this gun home and how this gun originally had a completely different receiver. When I got into MP5s, it was probably about 10 years ago. And this is before any company was importing any of the Zeniths or the stuff from Turkey or Pakistan. And so you were really limited in options. Most people just had to buy an HK 94, which was already really expensive a decade ago, and then dump thousands and thousands of dollars into converting it into some type of SBR. MP5 parts have always been expensive and very difficult to come by. And so I ended up buying a less than quality Special Weapons 5 receiver. It was a cast receiver, it wasn't very good. And I ended up trying to turn it into an SBR. And I did. I filed my Form 1, bought some parts, tried to upgrade as many things as I possibly could. But let me tell you, when it comes to MP5s, these things only want to run with the highest quality and most expensive parts. And I learned my lesson the hard way. I had this SBR that didn't run very well. It wasn't very reliable. And I finally thought to myself, okay, I need to do this right. So I contacted TPM Outfitters, which is based here in Dallas, and they're known for being one of the custom gun makers and craftsmen when it comes to these roller delayed blowback guns. Them, Dakota Tactical, and there's a few others out there that I had heard about, but they were local. And I was like, well, I don't have to ship the gun off. I can just take it down there and have them build me a whole new gun, take the old parts off of the old guns, well, the ones that were quality, German-made HK parts, and then build a whole new gun from the ground up. And that is what I did. And let me tell you, they did an outstanding job. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to ask, what are the parts that went into this? I'm going to put that at the end of the video. So after the range report, after the shooting, and after my final thoughts, stick around and I will go from the front to the back on this thing and give you a complete part list, well, the best that I can remember. So let's talk about the things about this gun that I like and don't like. Now, of course, this is from my own personal collection, so some people are going to say I might be a little bit biased, and yes, I do have a lot of money invested in this fine machine. but there are a few things that I don't like. But let's start with the things I like first. And I have to be honest with you, it's going to be almost everything. Well, first and foremost, it's going to be the roller delayed blowback system. That's really what makes these MP5s so special and arguably so expensive. When it comes to the bolt and the bolt carrier, it's like no other subgun out there. And it's what gives these things that Cadillac recoil. It's a very complex design that comes from right after World War II and the Setme rifles that were chambered in .308 that they scaled down to 9mm. And to describe the recoil of an MP5, it is just smooth, it is just soft, it is just the most pleasurable gun out there in the world to shoot. And it doesn't matter if you have a real HK or a clone, as long as it uses the roller delayed system, it is incredible to shoot. You just want to shoot this thing fast. Even though this is not a machine gun, it's just an SBR, you just want to shoot the thing fast because it feels so good in your shoulder and it's just so much fun to shoot. Then we have the ergonomics. In many ways, this gun is very much like an AR-15. You have the safety selector switch right here, which can be actuated by the thumb. There are versions that are ambi, and you have different types of lowers. This is a neutered 3-position lower, so you have an SEF for safe, Eins, well, I forgot what the actual German word was for 1, and then F for full auto, but it doesn't have an auto sear in it. It has been clipped and pinned for the semi-auto shelf, but there are other ones that you can get if you want them to look the part that have 4-position, where you have burst fire as well. You just have so many options when it comes to lowers and stocks, and that's another thing. The aftermarket for these guns now are humongous. I think every company has gotten into the MP5 game, from B&T all the way down to Magpul. But when it comes to the ergonomics, this gun has something I think is the absolute coolest function ever. Now, if you're a right-handed shooter, it works great. If you're a left-handed shooter, probably not. I've always loved the idea of having the charging handle or the cocking handle out here that you can activate with the left hand or the non-shooting hand. That is just so cool to have the cocking mechanism far out towards the barrel and not back here. That's one of the things about the AR-15 I haven't always been a big fan of, is having that charging handle right there in front of your face. You have to take the gun off of your shoulder. Here, you can always activate it with your non-shooting hand. It's very obvious if it's locked back, if it's closed. I just always loved the ergonomics, the look, and the function of that charging handle. And that's just something that the legacy HK guns all have, and I've just always thought was really cool for whatever reason. Finally, I want to talk about the diopter sights. The HK legacy guns have some of the most unique sights you can possibly get. You have a kind of a blade front sight here in the front. See if I can get that in focus, and there it is. But you have this really cool drum on the back, and you can rotate it depending on the size and the distance that you're wanting to shoot. So the larger diameter is going to be for more up close and personal. You have a very small dot on one of the settings for further out. I personally think the diopter sights are very naturally shooting. They make a lot of sense, and I'm not really sure why more companies don't adopt it. It just is a really cool design. It's very efficient. It really focuses your eye on the target. I love diopter sights, and I wish more guns had them. And the last thing, as I said, I like, and I've already kind of mentioned it, was the aftermarket. This gun, while it has an original HK stock, you can get any type of stock for this. The aftermarket for this gun is just incredible. You can have it as just a pistol, you can have it as an A2, this is an A3, you have different lowers, you have different handguards, you have different clamps to mount optics on the top, so you can run any type of red dot. You have handguards that have quad rails on them or tri-rails. There is just so much that you can do to this gun that you could modernize it or have it something that's a little bit old school, like I've set this one up to. So now let's talk about a couple things about this design I'm not really a big fan of. And maybe I'm just spoiled by modern firearms. And yes, this gun dates all the way back to the 1960s. But one thing I don't like about this is it lacks a last round bolt hold open. The MP5 has never had that. So it's very much like an AK, that when you are out, it just goes click. It's kind of disconcerting sometimes. You really wish that it had a bolt hold open, just like an AR. You can feel it. You know when you're out. I'm not a big fan of always having to go click, and then of course you always want to make sure you check the chamber that you don't have some type of hang fire. It's not really a safety issue. It's just something that's intrinsic to the design, And I do know that some companies have tried to add bolt hold opens, but the traditional design doesn't have it, and I've just never been a big fan of that. The next thing about these MP5s and MP5 clones that I don't think anybody likes is the cost. I mean, you guys would probably cry if you knew how much money I have invested in this. And even if you just go to the store and buy an SP5 or an SP5K, you know you're dropping thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. This gun is just mechanically complex. It's so sought after, and there aren't really a lot of quality ones out there. Yeah, we have a lot of guns that are coming on the market now, but when it comes to the demand outseeds the supply. And you just have to pay a lot of money for these. And then when it comes to building the gun, well, if you can't find original German parts, you gotta go with American-made parts or other foreign-made parts that might not be as quality. And as I mentioned, my original gun, my SW5, man, did I not have quality parts on that, and it ran like a piece of junk. And so when you build one of these, because you can't really do a lot of home gunsmithing on them, you have to know how to weld, you have to have the right jigs and the presses, that you got to really buy all the right parts up front before the thing is assembled, because having to change something like the cocking tube, well, it's not just a bolt-on part. You gotta have it cut off, you have to have a new one welded on, and then the whole gun has to be refinished. It's no fun. So it's better just to go ahead and buy all of the quality parts up front so you don't have to deal with that later. And finally, the last thing I don't like about this is being just an SBR, it doesn't have a giggle switch. It doesn't have anything in here that will allow me to shoot full auto. I just don't have a full auto registered lower. Now, this gun could be converted to that, who knows? Maybe one day I will go ahead and buy a Fleming auto sear or registered sear, drop it in here, and this thing would be an awesome auto sear host. But as it sits, it definitely wants to run fast, and if you ever shot one of these as a machine gun, well, shooting the SBR is just not as fun. It's still a fun gun to shoot, it's awesome, but after shooting the real thing, a real machine gun, well, the SBR just won't do it for you, I can tell you that. But it is still awesome, and I wish this thing was a real machine gun. All right, so that is a lot of talking. Let's get into the shooting portion of this video. These are gonna be the first rounds on this gun ever. I have never taken this thing to the range before just a couple of days ago. So I'm gonna load this magazine up, 20 rounds, just shoot it for the first time and see how it does. Man, when you shoot this thing, you realize why this is one of the most popular submachine guns that have ever been made, and really no other company has ever been able to duplicate its success and its feel. Yes, it's a complicated gun, but when you shoot it, you really come to appreciate it. It's shot absolutely fantastic at 10 yards. I'm really happy with this thing. And I give TPM Outfitters a lot of credit. When these things are assembled, because you have parts that are welded on and pressed in, they really have to be put together correctly. Otherwise, your gun may shoot really far to the left, really far to the right, up and down, whatever, and they did a good job in making sure this gun was spot on from the factory when they built it. So I'm really happy with that. The only issue that I really had was initially the magazine insertion. When it comes to these finishes, and yes, I absolutely love this color. I know there's some people out there that are gonna say this is ugly, including my wife, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But when they paint the whole thing, sometimes that paint can get all into like the little nooks and crannies, and you really gotta work all these parts in before the magazines really want to be inserted nice and strong. So I did have a little bit of issue. I don't have that issue now. The paddle release and the button release work great, but I think it just had to be worn in just a little bit. All right, so now let's take this thing out to a further distance. I'm going to shoot 20 more rounds at 20 yards at the head of this IDPA target. This is a submachine gun. Well, it's supposed to be a submachine gun. It's an SBR, but I'm going to go for longer distances, see what type of group I can get, and because this gun can be legally shouldered, I'm expecting to still get a good group. This is not a marksman's gun, but you should still be able to shoot it at quite long distances pretty accurately. So let's see how I do. Well, I'm pretty happy with that, and as you saw, I also adjusted the diopter sight in the middle of shooting. It's really easy to do. I realized I was still on the largest aperture, so I went to one of the smaller ones, and it was still absolutely spot on. It's another reason I just love this iron sight system. So I'm pretty happy with the results, and I still want to shoot this thing pretty fast. I promised myself I would take time on that accuracy portion. But man, when you shoot one of these, you just want to shoot it fast. It's like having a Corvette, but only being able to drive it at 15 miles an hour. It's just not going to work for you in the long run, right? You just want to drive the thing fast. You want to shoot the MP5 fast as well. Speaking of shooting this thing well, let's let my wife get a chance to handle this. Now, she shot full auto MP5s before. In fact, this is her favorite machine gun. I always joke with her because the first time she shot one of these, she accidentally shot the ceiling. No, not right above her. It was down the range a little bit because she wasn't expecting the recoil. Now, these things don't have a lot of recoil, but it does jump a little bit in full auto. So a long time ago, when she got to shoot one of these towards the back of the range, she kind of shot the ceiling tile. So when I gave her this to shoot, I said, please don't shoot the ceiling with this, and she laughed. But she loves the MP5, so let's see how she does. All right, so the first thing she says is, I hate the color. And I don't understand where she's coming from. I think this is just the most awesome color ever for an MP5. This is the factory RAL color. It's not quite flat dark earth. I think it is sexy as heck. But she said she would want one in pink. Yeah, that's just the way she is. She also said she likes this more than her AR. And that really says a lot because I think that is her favorite gun. So who knows, maybe she wants one of these in pink. Maybe if I let her have one in pink, she'll let me buy that full auto sear one day. Well, maybe I gotta work on her for that. But she shot this thing absolutely fantastic. The only issue she had is that she is left eye dominant, and using these iron sights, it's not a left-handed gun, and it's not a right-hander's gun if you're left eye dominant. I would have to put on some type of red dot optic system for her, but that's easy enough to do. But she shot it, absolutely loved it, and shot it really well. Well, I know you guys are saying, Jason, you gotta do some obligatory mag dumps. Well, that's what we're gonna do now. Load this magazine back up to 30 rounds, and let's just have some fun. Alright, so that wasn't as fast or as fun as a real machine gun, but it was still a lot of fun nonetheless. This thing is obviously really accurate, and I can tell why. Militaries and police from all around the world still love the MP5, and I think as a home defense gun, it's also a fantastic gun. You can put a lot of rounds down range really fast, and it's very accurate because the recoil is so manageable. It is just so much fun to shoot. All right, I'm going to do one more shooting test. This time I'm going to put a paper target out with 2 individual targets. I'm going to go between the 2 doing double taps, triple taps, maybe just shooting them single at a time and rotating back and forth, and just trying to shoot multiple targets at the same time and see how accurate I can be. Well, as you can see, this gun makes an average shooter like myself look pretty darn good. I'm really happy with the results. So what are my final thoughts with the TPM Outfitters MP5-N clone? Well, I know I'm a little biased here, but I gotta give this thing 5 out of 5 stars. And yes, I am financially invested in wanting to like this because I have spent so much money and time getting this gun to where it's at. But this gun has not disappointed. I know some people, when it comes to these small gun shops, especially the ones that create these custom guns like this, will sometimes get on their case because they are a small business. They can get behind and you'll go online, and this goes with any shop. They'll say, well, their customer service isn't that good, or the gun took too long to build. And yeah, I had to wait almost a year for this gun to be built. But let me tell you, sometimes good things come to those that wait. I was patient, and it definitely paid off. And I can tell you, the guys at TPM, they are awesome. They were super friendly. Their customer service has always been great. Yeah, they're a little slow sometimes to respond to emails and return phone calls. But it's a small shop, and let me tell you, they do top-notch work. This is just one of the most fun guns you can ever shoot. It has Cadillac recoil, it has history, it's beautiful, the design is timeless. It's just simply fun. It is just an awesome gun, and I honestly believe might be one of the top 3 most important guns that has ever been designed in the history of the world. Probably the 1911, probably Colt's original revolver, and the MP5 submachine gun. That's just my opinion. I know other people are going to say AKs and ARs, and those are really important guns. But maybe this is definitely, though, in the top 5. It is just an iconic piece of hardware. So there you go. That is my personal review and range report of my MP5-N clone by TPM Outfitters. All right, so this is going to be the portion of the video where I give you the parts list. So if you guys want to know, we're going to go head to tail on this, and this is, I know, more for the HK geeks. So let's go ahead and do that now. So starting here in the front, we have an American-made RCM MP5-N barrel that is threaded, also has the 3-lug system, and the chamber is fluted as per HK spec. The handguard I have is an original HK wide handguard. The sight tower and the sight, that is factory HK, as well as the little plug here in the front. The cocking tube is an American-made cocking tube, as well as the cocking tube support and handle. The internals of this gun has a factory HK bolt and bolt carrier. They are from the Action 3 series. The receiver, as I mentioned before, is made by TPM Outfitters, finished in RAL 8000. These are factory sights, both front and rear, from HK. The lower is an all original HK lower that has been neutered. It has been clipped and pinned, so this pin actually doesn't go through anything. It's just there. It's like a faux pin to make it look like there is a third pin, but it does have the semi-auto shelf, and the full auto parts have been removed, and it is polymer, and it is SEF marked as well. The stock here in the back is an Action 3 stock from about the mid-90s. These things actually cost about $1,500. The stock itself is really expensive. All of the other small parts, including the, see if I can show it here on camera, you have the trunnion here in the front that is marked as RCM as well, so that's an American-made part as well. And I believe that should be it. I think all the other small parts are factory HK, such as the magazine release and all of the pins. And I am running a made in Germany MP5 30 round magazine. I really suggest, if you own any type of HK clone of an MP5, make sure you run German mags if you can, if that keeps your gun 922R compliant. Running a quality mag in these guns is really important. So I think that's most of the major parts in this thing. So it's kind of a mix between American and German made parts. I think all the important stuff that should be on there that's German is German. But let me tell you, this gun runs fantastic, and RCM makes some of the best American made MP5 parts to make your guns 922R compliant. So there you go. That's the parts list for my MP5-N clone by TPM Outfitters. So let me know what you guys think. I hope this helps. And as always, thanks for watching.